The 10 most expensive whiskeys in the world. Hi guys, what is your most expensive whiskey? $50? $100? $200? You'll be amazed to find out the most expensive whiskey in the world. Whiskey is one of the oldest and most revered alcoholic beverages in the world. It is a luxurious drink which is appreciated by many. But do you know your whiskey? Let's find out. Here are the top 10 most expensive whiskeys in the world. Before we begin, why don't you pour a glass of whiskey, subscribe to our channel, sit back and enjoy the video. Number 1. The first one on the list of the 10 most expensive whiskeys in the world is the Craft Irish Whiskey, the Emerald Isle Collection. I know the name sounds very expensive, and yes, it is. The Irish Whiskey Company came into the business about 2 years ago, but still stands at the highest rank of expensive whiskeys with a price tag of $2 million. Do you believe it? Well, what makes this Irish whiskey worth $2 million? You'd think it's the years of knowledge of whiskey or the quality of the raw material, but it's about the small things. Ireland is the perfect place to house whiskey because of its closeness to the Caribbean. Wait, what? Yes, you heard that right. The warm currents from the sea are what give Irish whiskey its uniqueness. Moreover, the humidity because of the sea is profitable for the business. It takes at least 18 years for a whiskey to mature, but with Ireland's warm and humid climate, plus the extra credit from the Caribbean, the whiskey matures in just about 12 years. So that's a win-win situation for the business owners and those who relish it. I know you want to try it. But let's leave that thought and move on to the second one in our list of the top 10 most expensive whiskeys in the world. Number 2, the Macallan Fine and Rare 1926. The list of whiskeys would never be complete without adding Macallan to it. The Macallan stands at number 2 with a price tag of $1.9 million. Now what's so special about it, you may ask? The whiskey appreciators like to call it the Macallan Spirit. This whiskey, one of the finest in the world, has some really interesting stories behind how it came to be made. So let's dive into story time. This whiskey is housed in the heart of Scotland in the fields of Bally. It starts with a family of husband and wife and 2 children living off their small whiskey distillery. However, the death of their husband changed things, and Janet Harbinson took control of the distiller and produced this one-of-a-kind Macallan Fine and Rare 1926. That is why the name, the Spirit of Macallan. Little did she know her small invention would be prized at around $1.9 million. Moreover, this is not just one Macallan on the list, there are going to be many more. After this heartwarming story, let's move on to the next whiskey on our list. Number 3, the Macallan Michael Dillon 1926 60-year-old whiskey. Have I put Macallan again? Yes. Why? Because it's worth that much. Now I won't go into the story of Macallan because we already know it, but Janet Harbinson created not just one, but many such of its kind whiskeys. And as it has made it to our most expensive whiskeys in the world, at number 3, you must have guessed its price, too. The Macallan Michael Dillon is priced at $1.53 million. This bottle of whiskey held a record from November 2018 to October 2019 with a sales price of £1.2 million. The painting, commissioned by Fortnum & Mason, was done by the amazing painter Michael Dillon, and it was sold around 1999. Yep, you guessed it right, the painting on the bottle is exactly the one we're talking about. Next up on the list is Hanyu Ichiro's full card series at number 4. With very little differing pricing than Macallan, the Hanyu Ichiro's full card series stand at $1.52 million. This collection is unique in its way. It features around 54 bottles, each bottle representing a card in a deck of 52 cards, and with 2 extra jokers. Producing whiskey since 1941, they stopped production in 2000, but the grandson resumed production in 2005 and 2014, and you know the results. The grandson could only save 400 barrels from their distillery. Moreover, this is the only Japanese whiskey which was produced in a Scotch-style malt. I dare you to guess the whiskey on number 5. Yes, the Macallan, the Intrepid. I can't promise that this is the last time I'll discuss Macallan. Janet Harbinson controlled the Macallan distillery and produced the Macallan Intrepid for $1.38 million. This 32-year-old Macallan has matured, mild nose fuel, a very pleasant buttery quality, and a pleasant aroma. The whiskey has a nice sweet taste and an overall fruity taste. We're halfway there. Before we move on to our next whiskey on the list, have you subscribed yet? No? Pour another glass and subscribe to our channel for more updates. The number 6 houses the Dalmoure Decades Number 6 collection, priced at $1.24 million. The Dalmoure Decades Number 6 collection box contains 6 single malts hand-picked by Richard Patterson. Each bottle is for a decade of the whiskey industry, from 1951, 1967, 1979, 1980, 1995, and 2000. The interesting thing about Dalmoure's 12-year-old is that it contains 50% American white oak and 50% sherry. It also has a hint of tangerine, marmalade spice, and cinnamon. Sounds intriguing. For the next one, I can't help it, but we're back to Macallan. On number 7, we have the Macallan Valerio Adami 1926, 60 years old. This bottle of whiskey stands at $1.07 million. After a little bit of a down period, this bottle of whiskey regained its 100,000-pound mark in 2018. Macallan received this title after almost 16 years. It's interesting to know that the year 27 and 2018 represents the shift from whiskey being a drink to it being a symbol of status, and Macallan represents both. Now, before you ask about the next 3 left on the list, I'll give you a little teaser. The last 3 are all Macallans, and, well, why wouldn't they be? It's rich in taste, rich in culture, rich in aroma, and, well, rich in cost, too. So let's look at the 3 Macallans in the list of the world's top 10 most expensive whiskies. Next on the list is the Macallan Peter Blake 1926, 60-year-old at number 8. The year 1926 housed some of the finest Macallan whiskies. The 60-year-old whiskey held a record from 1991 to 1996 with a sales price of £6,375. The year 1926 contained around 5 incarnations of the finest Macallan whiskey, 40 of which were removed from the cask. Interestingly, Peter Blake is one of the first releases and marks the first collaboration of Macallan and Peter Blake. This finest whiskey is priced at $1.04 million. David Holmes, the famous art director, appointed Blake to design the label Macallan, and hence the name. Every Macallan bottle of whiskey has an interesting story behind it, just like the one with the painting. I'm sure the next 2 Macallans would also interest you. So far, we've seen Macallan collaborate with a painter and label maker. For the next one, we have Macallan with the luxury glass maker Lalique. At number 9, we have the Macallan Lalique 6 Pillars collection, which is priced at $993,000. As the 6 Pillars collection collaborates with Lalique, this series houses some of the most unique bottles you would ever acquire. René Lalique was originally a jewelry maker who made his artwork for companies like Cartier. Macallan collaborated with this fine league in 2004 and released its first ever pillar in the 6 Pillar collection in the following year. The bottle collection in this series holds some of the finest works of René Lalique with gold enameled gemstones. And lastly, we have, without a doubt, the Macallan Red collection. This collection of Macallan whiskey is priced at $975,756. When it's out of the box, the bottle gives off its age and richness. The color of the whiskey is sherry-rich, nearly 300 years old. The older Macallans were distilled shortly before or after the war. The red inside the box is red leather. The red inside the box and the sherry color of the whiskey complement each other, which brings out the beauty of the box. However, only 40 bottles of each were released. The Macallan Red collection is 40, 50, and 60 years old. Now you know. What is your most expensive whiskey? Let us know in the comments, and before you pour another delicious glass of cheap or expensive whiskey, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. Cheers!